White Porch Conversations.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the White Porch, and we are here for White Porch Conversations with our friend and somebody that I consider to be one of the greatest ladies to ever live.
Aww.
She brings joy and laughter and a smile to my face and everybody's face that she's around. I don't know how long you've been in our life now, but it feels like I've known you my whole life. It's really weird to think that we really I've only known you for probably about 10 years. Mm-hmm. I believe the first time I met you was at the pool party for the 4th of July that the church did back when you had the lodge. Mm-hmm. And I met you then, and Mom had been telling me about you then, but I had not gotten to meet you, and it just feels like your family. I mean, it really does. She rides to work every day with my mom, and she really is extended family. And if you don't know her, this is Vera Anderson.
Hi.
So we want to welcome Vera to the White Porch, and you may have seen her in the choir. She's one of the great faces in the choir every week, and we love that. Real quick, before we get into your story, let me do this. In the background, I don't know if one of the shots has the background, but you see the home that is directly behind us. Just so you know, that is the home of Stevie Layton, and it was her little boy Chance that attends our church that was in that ATV accident on Sunday. Very, very bad accident, and we just want to remind you guys to pray for that family. He's getting great reports, and it just so happened that they live in the background of the White Porch. So I wanted to mention, please, guys, if you would just say a prayer for Chance and continue to lift up Stevie and that whole situation. He's, again, getting good reports now, but we want to continue to pray for him. So I wanted to start with that. So anyway, Vera, tell us a little bit about Vera. I don't know your story other than were you raised in the Richmond Hill area? Is that home for you?
No. It was for my parents.
Okay.
And my dad's job moved them to Augusta in 1960, I think.
Okay.
But they were raised in Savannah, and my dad worked for Continental Can, and his job transferred him here. So I was born and raised in the Augusta area.
Okay, so this is home for you then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what was faith like for you as you look back growing up? What part in your life did you grow up really going to church with your family? Did you grow up not really going to church? Did you grow up having a strong belief in God? Was it something that really wasn't ever thought about as you grew up? What's your story? I don't really know it.
I wasn't raised in the church. My parents were believers, and they went to church with my siblings. My siblings are a little older than I am.
Okay.
And they attended church, but then as I come along, we just didn't go to church. I went to church with my granny and my aunt. During the summer, I'd go down to Savannah with Aunt Frankie and Chris.
Oh, yeah, we love Aunt Frankie.
Yes.
If you've never met Aunt Frankie, well, you'll see her several times throughout the year, so you need to come meet this great lady.
Yes,
She's an awesome
lady.
Loves the Lord.
She does. And I would go and spend a couple of weeks down in Savannah during the summer. And I attended church with my granny and Chris and aunt and uncle, and when I say we attended church, we went Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night.
So she caught you up.
Yes.
Whatever days you didn't go when you wasn't with her, she got you to multiple services every week.
And there were no ifs, ands, or buts. You were going to be in church. Those, during the week like that. And I went with the youth group. I attended the youth group. And as I got older, I was like my teenage years, I'd go to church with friends. And up until my adult years, we attended a church. And I've always been a believer.
Yeah.
I've always been a believer, and knew God, and I just knew of not of Him, but I was a believer.
Yeah.
But we just didn't attend church.
And as you look back in your life, when it came to the moment for you that God kind of became the for lack of a better word, a priority, something that was, you wanted to bring more to the forefront of your life. Was there anything that made that happen? Was it something that just naturally happened, or was it because you were going through something as you look back? I mean, when you...
Yeah, when I was 15, my friend led me to the Lord.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, she attended church regularly, and I went with her a good bit, and she led me to the Lord. And as the years, went on in my teenage years, like I said, I always knew the Lord, but sometimes I didn't pray. I was one of those that I'd pray when something was going on, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, God help me, And as I got into my adult years, I think the turning point for me is when I really got with my walk with Christ. It was in 2014. And the lifestyle I was living in, I was drinking too much. I mean, a lot of people, I wasn't a full-blown alcoholic or anything, but it was to the point where I knew that I had a problem. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to drink, and I didn't want to smoke. And I tell people, well, I only smoke when I drink, and a couple of times.
I used to say the same thing. I used to say two things. I used to tell, it's so funny that you say that, because you hear people use this all the time. I used to say, I only smoke when I drink, and I only smoke when I fish.
Yeah.
That's what I used to say. And then I would even say, I only drink when I fish.
Yeah.
And so, back in my day where I smoked, when I was like in high school and stuff, I would always tell people, I don't really smoke. I only smoke when I drink. And so it is so funny to hear you say that.
And that was me. And then some people would make the comments, well, that's every day. And I thought, ooh, and like I said, and as I got older, like when I was younger, I didn't really drink that much. But as I got older, and I guess the adult life and adulting and bills and everything, I just got to where, I'd come home and I'd have a few beers at night. And then it got to where right there towards the end before I quit, I could drink 10 or 12 a night. And that wasn't right. That wasn't good. And
how long did you see alcohol as a major part of your life? Like, how many years would you say?
Probably at least, let's see, that was in 14. Probably about 14 years where I noticed that as I look back that I was gradually, going to alcohol and I enjoyed it. And I don't put people down, who still drink it, because I mean, a lot of people drink it to unwind, and that's fine. But I couldn't come home and say, well, I'm just gonna drink 2 or 3 beer. It's like,
Yeah.
So I just got to a point where I was like, I've had enough of this. I want to quit drinking. I want to quit smoking. And I started praying, and it wasn't anything that happened overnight. It took time. I started praying this probably about the middle of 2014. And a few months went by, and I was like, well, I'm still drinking, what? And then I got to thinking, well, maybe it's how I'm praying to God. Maybe I'm telling him, God, take the taste, want, and need of alcohol away from me. I said, maybe I'm just being too bossy. And I was like, I need to, change the way I'm praying. Because I really wanted to stop, and I was like, God, and I know you want me to stop, and maybe, he wanted me to try it on my own or trust him. I just didn't know, but I just kept praying. And then, like I said, that was about the middle of 2014. And I changed my way of praying too. I just got down and just started like a one-on-one conversation with him. Yeah. Explaining why I wanted to quit. I got grandkids coming.
Are y'all listening to this? This is as practical as it gets. Like, I hope you were paying attention, because I mentioned to her about doing this, and then she texted me after I mentioned it to her, said, I would love to get on there and talk about how God set me free from smoking and alcohol. And hearing her tell this story, this is practical. This isn't just some like, you just pray. She's telling you how she did it, and she got down and just started having real conversation with God, and didn't just say, I don't want this. Say, this is why I don't want it. You were really taking this serious.
I was, and I was like, I just changed how I started doing it, and just telling him why I wanted to quit. I have grandkids coming up, and I don't want my grandkids seeing me, every time they come around, I'm drinking and smoking. I just didn't want that for me. And so I just started talking to God and telling him, why I wanted to quit. And 2015 rolled around, February, and I was like, it's been a week and I haven't smoked or drank. I didn't even have the urge. And then 6 weeks went by. And I was like, oh my goodness, God is answering my prayer. And I started really getting closer to God then, because I was like, he is answering this prayer for me. I didn't like want a cigarette. I did not want a beer. I had no desire to, have, either one. And it was just so great. And then in July, the 5th month, my mom had her stroke. And I thought, oh goodness, this is it. Satan's going to come after me.
Right.
He's going to make me think you need to drink, you need to smoke.
He's trying to push you back into it by a crisis experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the devil, he can have the opportunity to take us out, but he can't have the authority.
Right.
He's not going to have the authority.
There you go.
So
Look, that'll preach.
Yeah.
He'll have the opportunity, but he won't have the authority. That sounds like a good Twitter line right there. So y'all need to write that down and say, the devil may have the opportunity, but I will not let him have the authority. Come on. That's good stuff right there.
And so this, with my mom in the hospital, she was, in the nursing home. So for 6 months, she lived, and before she passed away from the stroke. So every other week, I had a 3-hour drive to Richmond Hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember all that, because that was right when I moved here.
Yeah.
And we were visiting some with you. I remember when you were going back and forth with your mom.
Yep. And I just had a lot of time to spend with the Lord. And it wasn't like where it used to be in the past. I'd be like, oh, I got to pray. I got to, it wasn't like a chore. It was like I couldn't wait for that time to be alone. Yes.
Yeah.
So
instead of, what you're saying is, instead of letting the enemy have that time in your life, you chose to fill it with Jesus time. Mm-hmm. That's huge. Yeah, so huge.
And I'm so happy, because my mom, she had even made the comment before she had the stroke. They had come to visit, and she said, well, I ain't seen you drink or smoke. What's happened to you? And I was like, Mom, I've been quit now for about 3 months. And she was so excited. And she was like, oh, prayers have been answered. And I was like, goodness gracious, Mama. You act like I was just full blown. And she was like, well, you was close enough to it. And that worried her, because my grandfather was an alcoholic. Yeah. And a lot of people on my dad's side was. And but like I said, that got behind me, and it just the way I changed my prayers and talking to God. And then when she passed, the month later, Aunt Frankie got in her accident. Mm-hmm. But it's been 7 years.
Come on.
And I thank God. I thank him every day that I don't have that. He did take the taste, want, and need of alcohol away from me. I had no problem with it. I just dropped it like that.
Yeah.
And
but it was a process to start. Mm-hmm. It was a process to start. Mm-hmm. And because you stuck with the process, you were able to see a real breakthrough happen.
I did.
The breakthrough didn't happen in 2014. Mm-mm. It happened in February of 2015.
Yes.
But you held on to it that whole time,
Yes, and that I would, like I said, it took me just going into prayer with him on like a one-on-one conversation with a friend, with a family member, or and that's the way I look at God now. I just got that, because I always thought it had to be so like a professional relationship with God. I thought I got to say the proper things. But really it's just like a personal relationship.
Right. Instead of exactly, you had to make a decision to let it go from being just this religious experience you were having with God, where he really became a person to you. He became a real person.
That's right.
A real relationship to you. And one of the things that I love is the way you're telling your story. This past Sunday, I talked about the story in Exodus 17 where they were fighting the Amalekites. And one of the things that God told them at the end that we talked about, the Bible says that God says that I will blot out their name, and that they will be defeated from generation to generation to generation. One of the things I didn't talk about was that the Amalekites were defeated in Exodus 17 in that battle. And God told them that they were going to be defeated from generation to generation to generation. But what we didn't get to go into was that the Amalekites were an enemy of God's people for generations. Like, they were still fighting against the people of Israel. Mm-hmm. But God had set them free from the fear of the Amalekites. He had set them free from the fear of losing the battles to the Amalekites. And when I think about that, as I go back to that story that we talked about Sunday, and I'm thinking about you, that's exactly what has happened to you, is that God broke it off of your life. And there were moments after that you you saw the enemy trying to set you up to lose a battle to the same thing that you knew that you were set free from. But you had made up in your mind that, no, I'm set free from this. You know, I'm not going to let my mom's crisis take me back into what was. I'm not going to let Aunt Frankie's crisis take me back into what was. But I've conquered this thing. I have victory over this thing.
Yeah, that's right. And it was a freeing, like, oh gosh, you know, and it was like that was like one of the biggest prayers that I'd ever prayed that came true, you know, that God answered for me. And that's when I just really started, all those years I had let go of his hand, and that's really when I just grabbed back a hold of his hand again. And just, you know, I read the Bible. It took me 3 years. But you know what? I would get so discouraged because I'd be like, gosh, I'm supposed to do this in a year. You know, that's what they say. You know, read the Bible in a year.
That's what they say.
Yeah, well, I did it in 3. But you know what? Every time that I went back to read something, it had something to do with what I was going through, and it brought me comfort. Yeah. And I finished reading the Bible right when the pandemic started.
Wow.
Yeah, reading Revelation, and I was like, "Ooh, this was meant for me to finish it this time." You know, they can say a year, but God wanted me to finish it then, and I did. And you know how they talk about the thirst and hunger for God with Matthew 5:6, I believe.
Yeah.
And
the hunger and thirst after righteousness will be filled. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the way I do. I don't read and do my devotionals like every day like I should, but I do get into his word, and it's so comforting, and it just helps me with daily life. And I have a peace now that I've never in my entire life had before. The whole world could be falling down around me, and I'd be like, it's okay, God's got this.
Yeah,
you know?
Come on.
And sometimes it's mistaken
right.
for, you don't care? And I'm like, yes, I do, but I just have a peace now that I know God's gonna, you know, whatever's gonna happen is, you know, it's what God wants to happen, and I'm putting my trust in him.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what you just said, man. You're just saying some incredible stuff. I hope you guys are taking notes of some of this stuff. What you said is so true, that when he revealed himself as a God who would answer that one prayer, it caused you to put a trust in him. That's one of the things that disconnects people in their relationship from God. They never pursue God enough to let him start, you know, that one thing, you know. For you, it was, you know, I want to be set free from smoking and drinking. For somebody else, it might be, I want to be set free from pornography. For somebody else, it might be, you know, I want to be set free from this or that or whatever. You know, it's something different. And we want to see God. For some person, it's, I want God to heal my body. I'm sick in my body. I want God to heal me. And man, if we would just give God, you know, the faith for that one thing, and we see God do that one thing, man, it will start a connection with God that runs so much deeper, because that really is the way that you're describing how you shifted from God just being a thing in your life, you know, a distant entity, if you will, to where God became a person and a relationship, and you clung onto his hand. The reason that happened is because he moved in your life one time. That was all it was one time. Yeah. And that was all it took. And that's what it is for so many people, man. They want God to move in their life one time, but they don't give God the opportunity to do that one thing, so that one thing will begin to snowball and move into this deeper relationship. And that's what happened with you. And now, as you said, now you're walking in at what the Bible tells us we're supposed to walk in as believers, and that is just the peace, the perfect peace of God. And it's not that bad things don't happen. It's not that there aren't things that I could get worried about. It's no, you don't understand. I've seen God work.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it. I know what it's like when God shows up. So now I'm just going to trust him.
Yeah. That changed my everything with how I handle things. And like before, I had really gotten close to God like I had, like when my mom got sick, and before I would have just really like acted out and, you know, acted crazy. But it was like I had a calm, and I feel like, you know, he was preparing me for, you know, getting ready to lose my mom. A lot of stuff was going on, and I just saw things differently. Yeah. Whereas, you know, before when people would pass away, I'd be like, why did they have to go? You know. Yeah. And it's just a part of life, and I knew where she was going, and I mean I just love the relationship now I have with God, and I tell everybody it's that peace. Oh man. You know, don't ever give up on, you know, what you're praying for, or just, just give him your time. Get into his word. Just,
do what she did. Take time that you have, that you're giving the enemy an opportunity to speak into your mind, and designate that time to a time where you're focusing on God. That's one of my favorite things that you shared, was those 3-hour drives, and how you were like, man, this was a time I thought the enemy was going to try to drag me back. But I chose to look forward to those 3 hours, because that was 3 hours I got to spend with God. That is such an awesome testimony. That is so cool.
And I think all the time, because some days I would just be pouring it out to God, and I would almost be like, just not screaming at him, but just everything that was going on. And sometimes I'd be crying, and I thought, people passing me by, they're probably like, what is going on with that lady?
It's just my Jesus time.
Yep, that's all it was.
I'm just letting him have everything that I have. I'm giving it all to him right now.
And I did, and that is so true. Just when I changed my prayer of wanting to stop drinking and smoking, it was just, I had to get down and just pour it out to him, and just say, God, instead of just like routine prayer, take the taste, won't need of alcohol and cigarettes away from me. I had to just get down and just have that time with him, and just like he was cradling me.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys are hearing this, because, and I wanted to make sure that you guys know, she's not just talking about alcohol and smoking. She's trying to give you a process, a way to step out into faith, into whatever it is for you. Because again, everybody, it's not the same thing.
Exactly.
You have your own thing. You have something else that you need God to do, that you're going, man, I wish God would do this one thing. And she's sharing with you the hope and the faith that you can have, that God will do it. Don't give up on it. Pursue it. And when he does it, breakthrough is real.
Oh, yes, it
Breakthrough is real. That's the word of the day for you. I mean, it was breakthrough. It was breakthrough. God did it after a process of you working through that for however many months it was you were working. And when he did it, he did it.
He did it, yeah.
Come on.
And that's, prayers aren't going to be answered instantly.
Yeah.
And like this one wasn't. It took months. And then when it happened, it was, it's like, what I prayed for is happening. It happened.
Yeah.
Thank you, God. Thank you.
Right. It is amazing how so many prayers, the process is so different. You talk to some people, and it happens so differently, and then you talk to other people, and it's this process. It goes into even in the Word we see this idea of God letting us know that these promises and these things that God wants to do for people, they have different growing phases. There was one time a guy said, hey, by this time tomorrow, God's going to do this miracle. And sure enough, 24 hours later, the famine in Samaria was lifted. God did the miracle. Then there was another time where God tells a guy named Abram, hey, I'm going to give you this land that is flowing with milk and honey, all the way back in the book of Genesis. And then that doesn't even happen until Joshua takes them into the promised land almost 500 years later. So it's amazing how different these processes are. But the thing that we hold on to is that God's word is true. We can trust his word. He is going to give us the breakthrough. We don't give up on the breakthrough, and not giving up on it, that's how we see it come to pass.
That's right. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. And like I said, my situation's not near as bad as what some people go through, but it's my story.
Yeah, and it's an awesome story.
Maybe there's somebody out there that, like you said, they're struggling with something else, and just...
Or maybe it is. Maybe there's somebody listening that it is drinking and smoking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible right now that there's somebody that's going, man, I've been praying for this, and your story is going to be the thing that inspires them. Because some people are like you. You just said something that's key, too. There are people who think, man, this isn't that big. There are people who have it worse, but it doesn't mean God doesn't care about the desire of your heart.
Right.
It doesn't mean that God's not paying attention to what it is that you want to see him do. I mean, listen, I don't care how small or big it seems. God wants to give you a breakthrough. That's one thing he wants to do.
He sure does. And I still can't believe this, me going to church like I do. And I'm not active that much.
Singing on the stage every week, I'd call that pretty active.
Well, there's others singing with me. But I just, sometimes I do cry at my transformation, because I'll look at pictures. I'll come across pictures, and sometimes I'll put them on Facebook and say, the girl in this picture was so broken. She was
come on.
Yeah, and I just, if I could go back, I would just hug her and say,
listening to this?
it's
This is so
getting,
good.
it's going to be okay. You get the boy. You get that Charlie Anderson.
Come on. Come on. That's right.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
not
just-
just you. I mean, for those who don't know, little Charlie, who was here with us last week, this is his stepmom, and it's not just you. I mean, your whole family has seen major breakthrough. I mean, I see it in Big Charlie. I mean, I see the Lord has just done so much in the last several years since I've been able to be around him more. I can see his love growing for the Lord, and it's just so awesome. I've seen it in little Charlie and in Casey, the kids, all the way up to New York.
Yeah.
All the way up to
yeah.
New York in your family. We see just God just really touching
Amazing.
your whole family, man. And it's so awesome. And
He's not done yet.
and I really do, as I look back, man, I see such a catalyst out of you for what the Lord has done in your family. Who knows where any of those would have been had it not been for you. Even where Aunt Frankie is right now and everything, and how she's still, doing so well, and
strong lady.
Strong lady.
Yes.
I mean, who knows how much faith and hope you gave her from your testimony in her life. I mean, it's just amazing to see what God did with you in 2014 and how it grew out into your whole family. So.
Yep. It has been amazing. So y'all don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. And don't think that your situation is not that, it's not that important to God, because it is. It truly is.
And I'll tell you who else. Ruthie Belangia is very proud of you.
Yeah.
She celebrates what the Lord has done in your life so much, and she sees it. She sees it.
She has poured into me a lot. She's one of the ladies and friends that have really, whether they know it or not, has just poured into me, and I look up to her, and she's the next thing to an angel on earth. She is, everybody they just know how sweet she is, and it's genuine.
It is genuine. That is what you see is what you get with her. I will tell you that. She is not fake, or not one bit.
She has really been a blessing to me, and she's the one who got me, to going to Faith Community, and that's when Addison preached there. And over the years I went to different churches, but I never felt like at home. It wasn't, it wasn't that people were rude or. Well, sometimes we went to this one church and they told us to move because we was in their seat.
Those are always the worst stories. Those are always the worst stories.
Like, okay, well, after this we won't be back. Coming to Faith, it was like the first time we came, and everybody loving on you and that personal relationship with everybody. I knew it was like, this is it. Have you ever put like a baseball glove on and it might be too short or too big?
Oh, yeah.
And coming to Faith was like putting your hand in the perfect glove.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it fits like a glove.
Well, one of the things about you is you're real, too. I mean, and you need to be around real people. That's for sure. You are Vera. You're going to be Vera. If you guys have never seen her around holidays, she's dancing around Christmas trees. And, I mean, she's just the life of the party. And what's awesome is you've been set free from stuff that people probably would have thought, well, to be the life, you've got to do this and this. And you're still the life of the party. Everywhere I go, you're still the life of the party.
Thank you, because it's so funny. Some people have told me, oh, well, you're not much fun since you quit drinking. And I'm like, well, I think I'm kind of fun.
I think you're a blast.
Or what did I do that made me so fun?
Yeah, no, we think you're a blast. I'm hoping some of that rubs off on Ruthie, some of that funness. And so she needs to be dancing around a Christmas tree at Christmas time and singing with you. So maybe we'll call her out and say, next year, Ruthie, you need to join Vera.
That's right. That's right, because I didn't do one this past year.
Get on the train.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much. You crushed it.
Oh, well, thank you.
It was almost like you wrote a sermon for this, because there was so much that you said, and she's not holding any notes.
No,
this all came from inside of her. I can vouch for it, because she's not looking at anything. And there was so much that you said that I'm like, wow, that is. I hope people are catching how big that is. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
And listen, I always tell you every week, if there's something that they say that was impactful impactful to you that, hey, you would say, hey, Vera, I'm kind of going through that. Would you pray for me? Let us know, comment, send it in, email us, call us, whatever. And I'm telling you, man, she would love to pray with you about your need and to stand with you for whatever it is that you want to see God do. Let her know. But man, this has just been so awesome, so encouraging. And I think this is the latest filming that we've ever done, and it's like a sunset behind Aaron. He looks like an angel over there. A little bit of a halo going on, getting a little nip in the air tonight, a little cooling down finally a little bit today. So this has been nice. I've enjoyed being on the porch in the evening with you. So thank you.
I've enjoyed it too. Thank you for having me.
And listen, y'all, thank you for watching. I'm getting more and more just incredible. You've been incredibly encouraging about these white porch conversations and how much they've meant. I've had so many people tell me that these are the best things that we've ever put out. So thank you for doing that, and we hope that that you will just take what you heard tonight and that you will apply it to your life. This is a real story. This is not a made-up story. We don't script any of this stuff. I don't even tell them before we get on the porch what we're going to talk about. So this is just real life, and you're hearing about it. So let it touch your life. Let it change you. But we just want to thank you guys for watching with us, and we'll be back with you. No, we're going to take next week off. It's Holy Week. It's Spring Break week, but we will have one for you for Holy Week. But next week we won't have one. So next Thursday night we're going to take the week off. And then we'll be back with you in 2 weeks. So have a great night. Love you guys. Thank you for joining us for White Porch Conversations.
Bye.
The White Porch Conversations.